we've had the Eden barn for several years now. We have gotten into the building, we have cabled the building to try to make sure it's sturdy, but we are just not sure if we're doing it right. So we did put some money aside to have an engineer come out and actually look at it, and if he has to do the work with our help.
Some of the other projects that we have listed under professional services, we don't want to move into until we've actually gone through our master plan and seen what our future is going to be within respects like the architect at Four Seasons. Looking also at the splash or the playground and the surface area at Ottawa Street Pool. Additionally, we're doing still research on the Village Green Spray area conversion. So, and then the second part would also be the Recreation Administration space evaluation, while we've made temporary adjustments to maneuver staff to the best possible utilization that we have. Before, that would be another step at the tail end of our master plan to help us determine which way we want to maneuver forward. So we've just kind of pushed them a little bit to the back burner at this time until we know we're best going to utilize our dollars and getting what results we know will be best for the district, not jumping before we actually know what we want to jump into.
Yeah, we did basically the same thing, thank you.
I'm sorry.
We did basically the same thing with our equipment purchases and so forth through the maintenance department. We put them in the capital plan, but then we went back and we did a real serious review of, do we really need this truck, or would we like this high lift better? So the whole plan was a great plan. It is a great plan, but I think every day we're looking at it. I look at it almost every day just to see what could be changed, where we could maybe save some money and get a better piece of equipment, something more useful or whatever. So that's it, unless there are other questions.
The last major fund of the district is debt service, which is Fund 8. And pretty much that's determined by our debt service schedule, and that's utilized to pay bonds and interest, principal and interest on debt issuance. That will be at or near budgeted levels. And then the last slide is our non-major funds. So that would be paving and lighting, which is Fund 4, the audit fund, which is Fund 5, liability insurance Fund 6, IMRF Fund 7, Social Security and unemployment. The audit will be a little bit under budget. We didn't know what those proposals would come in at. And liability insurance, we are saving some money on our workers' comp premium this year. We'll be about $30,000 under budget for that. Again, we just got a good deal this year on our on our workers' compensation insurance. And the rest of the funds will be within 10% of the budgeted amounts. So that is it for now. Does anybody have any questions or anything? And thank you for your time.
No questions? Everybody's quiet. Okay, we're on to action items. Thank you. Yes, thank you, everyone. Action item A. Seeking a motion to consider a donation to Princeton Township for the Giving Tree Donor Wall at the Township Community Center, which is here. Matt, did you want to?
Yeah, well, sure. Well, if somebody wants to make a motion, and then we have discussion, or we want to go ahead. Okay. We had put this on the agenda because it was suggested, I think at the last meeting, to have the board discuss it. The more I looked at it, the more I feel that's not appropriate to do that. The district doesn't have the ability to do that. I mean, it's not an intergovernment agreement, whereby we're sharing duties or responsibilities that one government entity has with us, which is fine. We do that in the past. We do that all the time. It makes sense. It saves money. This is a little bit different. This is really more fundraising. So I don't think it's appropriate to have the district support another taxing body with their tax dollars in a fundraising matter. Certainly if the individual commissioners wanted to do it, that's certainly fine. But as far as it coming from the district, I don't think that's appropriate. So if anybody has any questions based on that, I'd be happy to answer those. But I mean, I know it was on the agenda, so I just wanted to make sure that I understood what my position on it was.
I agree.
So
I agree.
everybody got this in their packet, so Matt and I talked earlier today, and I figured it anybody feels so inclined, it'd be better as an individual commissioner to make the donation on your own. Or we could pull together and say the board out of our own funds, though.
Well, I'll make a challenge. I want to pull up $100, everybody else willing to pull up $100 towards the leaves, individually.
Individual leaves.
My husband and I have already decided we were gonna get an acorn.
That's fine.
So everybody's got this to consider. It's completely voluntary. If you want to take up Commissioner Steiny's on his challenge, that's up to you.
So then do we need to?
Ask for a motion. Well, I should ask for a motion if somebody wants to make a motion. Make a motion.
No.
It's on the agenda. Okay.
So nobody made the motion, so
Yep.
thanks for lack of motion. Okay, item B, seeking a motion to approve the 2015 athletic field facility allocation and usage policy. Is there a motion and a second for that?
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Rob, okay, any discussion?
I'd like to make a discussion in regards to going over this, in regards to a closed door session, in regards to discussing these items, in regards to be clarified. Yeah. Or you would like-
You might go.
Would you like to have this open,
You can.
in regards to,
Yeah, I don't know if it's- I don't know if it's appropriate for public. What is there?
well, there's questions in regards to itemized items that I would say would need to be corrected or added on to these policies.
We can, I mean, you can certainly talk about it now. I mean, there's been a motion and a second to approve it as is. So if you want to, so this is the discussion portion of it. I don't think it's appropriate to go into executive
Okay,
session.
no problem.
discussion.
Okay,
So if you-
I can take it either way.
Sure, so if we want to discuss it now, that's fine. If somebody wants to withdraw the motion, they can do that, or.
Well, we'll do it after the amendments are talked about first.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you have a discussion, and if somebody wants to make a motion to withdraw, they can do that. If not, then we can go forward.
And then make your amendment,
Yeah.
choose.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna make amendments.
If-
If everyone
Okay.
agrees.
Regarding the fee payment on page 9. Okay, the payment of field use will be invoiced to the affiliated groups on an annual basis, each November. I would say, regards to the full payment, and, making that, assuring that it's in full current payment on the matters. And plus, the financial charge of late fees be moved to 20% instead of that 1.5. And let's see what else. Let's see, that's the beginning of that. Page 10. In regards to cleaning up the restrooms during an event, I would stipulate in regards to be also at the end of the event to make sure it's restocked, where we're not using our own employees, they go and restock matters after the fact. Let's see, there's nothing stating in regards to the facility uses in regards to structures on the grounds established by organizations in regards to rental fees, in regards to that space usage on taxpayers' properties. Like I said, to give waivers in regards to having these facilities and not getting, solid,
The discussion-
reimbursement,
Yeah, the discussion is regarding the concession stands more so.
concessions, or even storage facilities.
Or storage, sorry.
Correct. We should be seeing something
Do you want discussion?
itemized in regards to those situations.
I guess as we go through these though, the only question I would have is, do you want to discuss any of these as we go through that? Because if we're gonna put them in as an amendment or not.
Isn't the concession stand under a separate agreement?
The operation is, but what he's suggesting is actually putting it in here. Like right now, currently, we have a concession stand agreement. Andy, do you want to step to the front? please?
An old one, yes.
So currently, we do that under, we do an operation agreement under it, but there's no fees associated with it currently.
But at the same time, even
Yeah,
storage
I know.
facilities also.
So that's, I mean, that's to the board.
So you're saying this document does not address that at all?
We don't act, at the current time, the districts does not charge any fees for them for their storage facilities on the premises, nor the concession stands. We do have a concession agreement that is separate in the operation of the concession stand, not any fees associated with it though.
This,
So, and,
Yeah.
go on.
Rob and I are on the committee that, you know, discussed and talked with PJC, you know, and PAC, et cetera, in regards to, this came up about the incentives plan. And the agreement that we had at the present time seemed amenable to us. I mean, because the various groups have all worked and done various things, whether it is to build property for a concession stand, like PJC did, you know, but it's really considered our property because it's on our land. And so, in
But they
Buell,
built it because they use it, is that?
they built it,
And then they turn it over to us.
they turn it over to us, and then they maintain it, and so forth and so on. So
I
there,
see.
it's a whole different situation. If we built the concession stand, and then we just said, here, you use it, and you don't have to pay anything. So there's sort of, because of the past, it's sort of a, you know, it's a little more difficult. So we went through various issues on this at the meeting. And the way that this is set up here, and because we do have that agreement, if you want to step in and say anything about that, please.
Yeah, I think Janet said it right. It's the Ottawa Street concession stand. I couldn't even tell you. This is my 4th year here. That's probably what, 20, 30, 40 years old. We don't even have any documentation that was the park district that built it or PAC did. I think the Van Horn one was part of grant money. Was that building part of grant money, if I recall?
I think so.
I know that there was an agreement made with PJC with the Four Season one, and like Janet said, PJC supplied it and they built it, and so forth. The concession agreement, basically, it's just you're gonna take care of the inside, we'll take care of the outside, basically, in a nutshell. There's more details to it than that, I don't have that with me, but if we want, we can visit that at another time. Fortunately, we don't have that right
That's one of the
now.
things that we had talked about, but if that's what Commissioner Steines was bringing up, is if we want to add that into here or not, so.
Sounds like it's a very complex issue for us to just add it in.
I said, it has gone into detail in regards to specifying charges, you know, the requirements,
What,
you know, in regards to usage of those facilities. Because the way I see it right now, granting permission for somebody to build an outside entity to build on taxpayers' property, which is the park district, and, you know, using facilities over 30 years for the association's benefit, what's safe for somebody else establishing the same credentials, same qualifications to come up with another sports activity, saying that they want to build a facility at their own cost for storage, without, you know,
that was
right
one
kind of,
thing,
you know, situation.
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
that was one thing we did address in this agreement though, that no further, like, why we don't have a good history on some of the facilities, no further building or amenities or additions can be put in without our approval, which could be brought to the board at that time. That is in this agreement moving forward, but that, I understand the
But
statement
at the
you're
same
making.
time, you're still finding a situation where you got a dilemma, grandfathering right now, the groups, in regards to, still having established a discriminating circumstance in regards to other organizations getting the same benefits.
Well, I think if I'm right, the concession agreement provides that outside of the season, if another group wants to use it, or if we want to use it, we use it, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
I mean, another organization can use it. We have, you know, the one thing that the property inside the concession is the property of those,
Well, I'm just saying is that, okay, what happens if, you know, you're still showing a non-competitive bidding on that general facility? In regards to the person wants to have that same time but they're willing to pay back to the park district more monies, you know, for that space. What's to say that, if we tear them down because we refer this other organization because they've been around longer, you know, he's showing me the legits on, being fair.
Are you saying if another group wants to use the, like, concession stand? Is that
Right,
what you're
that's
saying?
I think what he's saying is if, let's say, there's a football game going on at Four Seasons, and an outside vendor wants to come in and say, we'll pay you money to utilize, we'll give you money to utilize that, I'm assuming that's what you're proposing, instead of letting PJC just utilizing it and generating revenue for their programming, I think is what he's saying.
Sure, and that's the, I mean, that's the concession agreement, that's not really, I mean, again, it's not even a part of this, right?
Correct. I think,
So that's something,
Well, it's not the product itself being sold, I'm talking about it's the usage of the space.
no, I understand that, but that's handled by the concession, that's handled by the concession agreement, not by the field use agreement.
Because there are probably groups that
Right.
want to use the fields and not the concessions.
Right. I mean, what you're talking about is specifically a group that wants to come in and use the concession stand to make money at some other event, right? Like Jimmy John's wants to come in and set up shop there. They'll pay us $10,000 to set up shop there for 2 days, so they can sell their sandwiches like PJ's. Right? But that's what you're talking about though, right?
Right.
So if that's what you're talking about, that's the concession agreement. This is just field use. Is that right? Andy, is that fair? Okay. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but.
Well,
that's
my
probably
point is that, you know,
more
we're talking about, you know, organizations using facilities and so forth.
Right.
And we gotta show in detail everything that's, you know, available. You know, you're strictly going with the field, but they also know, you're talking about PSA now using the structures and facilities of that grounds, you know, stands, you know, whatever concessions, storage facilities. That should be all included in this, you know, this policy.
Well, the concession, I think we've always treated differently for that very reason, because it is different, right?
yeah, I mean, based on, since I've been here, it's always kind of been a different situation. A lot of it has been in existence since we've been here, and the agreements previous boards and staff have allowed, you know, those non-affiliate or those affiliate groups to utilize not-for-profit groups. So we look at those organizations as they're also helping the community and providing a service, recreational needs within our community. So I think that was what the board in the past have decided on. And
But the point is, at the same time, you're giving a benefit to one organization.
Well, I guess
It'd be available, again, put it this way. Don't be surprised when somebody else decides want to come in and you shut them down or refuse them. Suffering the consequences, you know, as an attorney or whatever, which you probally see, of a possible
well, I think it
major
depends
loss
on
of
where they
regards
fall
to
under.
revenues or other ways.
I mean, if they fall under the affiliate category, which traditionally we've only had 3 major affiliates, that they would have to start at that level. So they would have to come in and have 80% resident based over 200 to start. That would be an affiliate level. So if they come in with 180 kids, and even if it's 100% of residency, they're not an affiliate still, so they don't have the same remedies as another affiliate per this. Now, the only thing I would say is if you want to specify exactly what you'd like to see in here, you have the right then to make a motion, and then that would be a board's decision how we add that in. I understand what your discussion is, but, I mean, that's ultimately, I guess, what we need to do at this point, is decide as a board, do we want something like that, do we want to add something in, or do we not want to? So, I mean, if you want to go through all the remainder of, if there's any other changes you have, you can put the other remainder changes in, and then you can make a motion to approve, out a new motion to approve the agreement with changes and look for support, and then take it to the floor. I'm sorry.
It sounds like his concerns are more with the concession agreement.
No,
I think-
in general, all structures and facilities being used.
I think he's going more, not so much with the sale, but the utilization of the facilities. Would you think
And
that?
not only that, not only that, but how this is structured in this, but concessions and field usage are going to be 2 separate ones because of that, so that, because not everybody will use the structures,
Do you have, I mean, do you want me, what actually, I guess,
I think we
Matt,
may-
do you want?
Yeah, do you want to make a
There should be,
motion?
there should be an amendment on this in regards to, any kind of, facility uses, so forth should be either applied by rental fees or in regards to permit uses, every time they reapply, for the use of the field, so in regards, this is all related to the facility, the facility user in regards to for their storage of their equipment and everything else, and, even selling of product. So that should be all applied into this.
Okay, so your motion is what?
To make a motion to accept my changes that as I suggested.
Okay, and what are those changes?
Well, like I said, let's go back to,
Page 9.
Right.
adding-
So the first one is on page 9, looks like the fee payment part.
Yeah, for on an annual basis for the full payment
Right.
in November.
20%
and then
on,
changing it from 1.5 per month to 20% per month.
So the invoice must be paid within 30 days of issuance, you want to say? Okay, invoices must be paid within,
Yes.
okay,
This must be paid in full.
is that,
and with a 20% penalty set it at 1.5.
all right, so invoice must be paid in full within 30 days, correct? That's the first one, okay.
That finance charge, I'm sure staff research, is that,
That was the going rate that the neighboring park districts around us are currently using when we just looked at other people's fields. So that's similar to Oswego, Naperville.
Correct. Isn't 18% per annum law in Illinois though?
That's a little,
well, and it
Because
comes
it's
out to
1.5%,
18%
it's
for the
1.5
year.
per month,
Right.
which is 18% annual.
right,
Right,
that's how it works out.
Yeah.
so if they don't pay a bill for. a
All we're
year-
talking about is his motion. I mean,
Well, let's go
this
with
was
credit card
motion.
late fee, how's that? It was the going credit card late fee.
Well, it's whatever you want, and this is your motion, so it's
Okay.
whatever you want. So you want to, so 20%, the paid in full, what's the next one?
Well, like I said, you're an attorney in regards to the law, so what are you saying, 18%?
No, 18% is
It's
what it is
annual.
over the course of the year if they don't pay
Right.
at the 1.5 per month.
I say 20%.
Right.
Late fee,
This is your motion,
Per
so
month.
it's whatever you want.
yeah.
So, all right,
Well, there
So
are
what's-
laws that say that we can't have more than a certain amount,
it's too much.
you know.
Okay.
Well, what is your suggestion then? What is
What it
it,
is.
asking your legal,
1.5 per month,
Right, because that is
that works out to
the
80%.
going rate for all our surrounding
And it's
districts.
consistent with the surrounding park districts, that makes sense. So I would suggest.
it sounds like it's pretty lenient on the regards to matters.
It's your motion, if you want to make the motion, go
I'll
ahead.
make the motion for 20%.
Don't you have a motion on the table though already?
We do, it's a motion to amend.
Okay.
Go ahead, what's next?
Okay. Okay, use of structure, in regards to,
What page?
that'll be page 10.
Okay,
At the top of the page, in regards to use of the structures, regards to, park, associations, there'll be, charges of the permit use of, the facilities, or, rental fees be established.
so let's approve, all permanent field / facility improvements shall become, request amount of fund, no.
He's adding, not so much amending that portion, I think he's requesting
To
it.
be
Okay,
added-
so you want to add some language
to
at
be
the
an
end of that first
added
paragraph?
comment.
Okay, so what do you want it to say?
Okay, the use of the structure of, like I said, outside associations using the fields, and, so we're in regards to the use of, facilities to be rented or permanent on a yearly basis.
So any permanent field / facility improvements,
Not improvements.
well, the structure be an improvement.
I think it's use of structure is located on the park district.
Structure,
premises will require
rental,
Okay.
Rental slash usage.
Space.
Okay. Did you hear that?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Is that what you,
I just want to verify.
that's what you want?
Let's hear it again.
I said if I'm understanding correctly, you're looking for an additional paragraph put in there that would state usage of any structures or facilities structures or sheltered facilities located on park district premises would require rental slash usage fees.
Right.
And then that's not established, but we would have the.
Well, and the history there is,
No, hold on, this is just his motion.
I'm just trying to make sure.
Yeah, we're just, dealing with history, we're going forward, we're in some major matters, then we're, clear. All right, and, of course, for the restrooms and so forth, in regards to making, the cleaning of restrooms during the event and at the end of the event. The only change on that is, at the end of the event, in regards to replenishing the restrooms.
So that last, second to last sentence there.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's all I have, thank you.
So that's a motion on the floor.
Okay. Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay,
So it's a motion on the floor for the amendments as presented to the agreement, if there's a second.
Second for the amended motion.
Okay, but what do you want the motion?
This is all,
It's not a-
we have to deal with this motion first, it's a motion to amend. That's the motion, if there's not a second, it fails, and we go back to the original.
Anybody want a second?
There's no second.
Take that as bills. Okay, so
Sorry, motion second?
No,
No.
so we'll go back to the original. Any more discussion on this one? On the original motion?
Just to,
I was just gonna say the reason we never charged a rental fee for those little structures is because they were built by volunteers. They created them, they paid, they built them, that's why we never charged them to then turn around and use something that they donated to us. That's the history there.
right, in, for the meeting that Rob and I are part of, we were talking with presidents of the various organizations. It is somewhat like what's been going on with some of the programs for youth dropping off. As this community gets ages a bit, so there has been some drop off for these organizations as well. And so it's not, it's to try and sort of get more out of them when, at this point in time, it doesn't make, it's not logical, particularly since we didn't build the property, the piece of, what was on that PJC built. We didn't build it, they did. There's a variety of reasons here that we've talked about, and I'm stumbling over my words at the moment. But if you, I guess, Pete, I'd say if you had been in that meeting with us and had heard, as we discussed it, we went through all of this, did we not, Ron? And it was logical, if perhaps if these organizations were, making money hand over fist, but they're not. And I know, my kids were all in these organizations, and my husband was a coach in PJC. And, so it's not a necessary item for us to squeeze the last nickel out for something that, such as this, or that was the feeling. We want to help promote these activities that these organizations are doing. That's it.
Any other discussion?
Roll call. Ayers?
Yes.
Ludeman?
Yes.
Newton?
Yes.
Poland?
Yes.
Solosky?
Yes.
Steins?
No.
Motion carries.
Okay, now we're up to item C, seeking a motion
You're welcome.
to approve to consider an ordinance variance request for the Village Green.
This time with this ordinance, I'm just making a suggestion as well.
Yeah.
At this time, I would suggest tabling this topic and letting us work with the group to possibly have a better contract to better bring to the board, so that if we are gonna make the variance to the ordinance, that we know better what the contract that will come out of it will be stating.
Okay, I move that we table it.
I'll second it.
Any questions or discussion? Roll call.
Ayers?
Yes.
Ludeman?
Yes.
Newton?
Yes.
Poland?
Yes.
Solosky?
Yes.
Steins?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we're up to item 8, new business, board committees. Did you want to mention? Sure. I got
Sorry. I put in front of the board, we had talked about establishing standing committees at the last board meeting, and one of the things is, we went through the board manual currently. In order to establish the committees, we need to do it by a board majority vote, and one of the things we put together is to establish 4 standing committees, which would be finance and liability, capital and development, personnel and policy, and recreation and marketing. These 4 standing committees They all have a chair and a co-chair that would be selected by the president of the board. Additionally, these 4 standing committees would be meeting from time to time, or as set times may require, to establish, I'm sorry, I lost my thought. To establish recommendations and information that the